Hi and welcome to the Tokwe Lano channel. My name is Temi Tokwe and today we're talking on a very vital and misinterpreted topic, right? I hope you're ready for it. But before we go, please can you subscribe if you haven't? Remember to share this video with your loved ones as well, and yeah, just be part of the conversation. You can also follow me on social media. I'd really love that. Thank you so much. Now today I want to talk about feminism. There is a popular book by Chimamanda, an essay, We Should All Be Feminists. So I just want to share my own perspective on feminism. So let's backtrack here. I grew up in a family of 3 sons and I'm the only daughter. And I went to an all-girls secondary school in Nigeria, Unity School. In school, I remember a lot of times they used to talk about how when you train a woman, you train a nation. I don't know what that means for men, but there is a lot of conversation these days and even growing up around women empowerment, women advocacy. I think that sometimes you know how they say that kokorotonje for a follower, right? So we are the ones doing ourselves sometimes. So I remember growing up, I had some issues with how some women used to behave. And I'm not saying that like one gender is at fault. You know what, let's even start from the beginning. What exactly is feminism? Feminism simply means a belief and advocacy for equal rights for both genders. That's the women folk and the male folk. It's just basically talking about equal opportunities politically, economically, and socially for women and men, that they should have equal rights. And I mean, that's pretty basic and a pretty good thing to ask for, right? But it gets really complicated when we live in a world that sometimes doesn't favor one gender, or we think one gender is more preferred. So we know how they say that there are about 3 or 4, how many Women's Day or how many Mother's Day in the year, and then there's just one Father's Day. There is that debate that there's always talk about women and women and women, and we don't pay enough attention. So coming back to my secondary school story, we used to hear a lot about how you're training girls, you're training the world. They used to always, give us some inspirational stories around breaking the glass ceilings. I've read a number of books like that around women on board, women in successful careers, and so on and so on. And I'm happy that we're getting a lot of more attention on guys as well. But I just want to talk about what it really means and why we are even struggling so much with feminism in the first place. So I live in Nigeria at the moment, and Nigeria is not ranked among the top countries for feminism or for female-friendly policies. Right now, the top countries with female-friendly policies are actually the Scandinavian countries. So you have Sweden, Norway, Germany, and countries like that, basically. And it just gets us thinking that where exactly are we going? And why should we even be advocating for women's rights in the first place? Because it's a basic thing. It's something that we need, right? We need men as much as we need women in the world. So we need equal rights for everybody. And biologically, we're already very different. So every month we have menses. I was speaking to a doctor last week and he says that women lose actually more blood than men. So our blood count is typically very low, or not typically very low. Our blood count is lower than men naturally. And that's like biologically. What do we do? Why is everything, already against us? And coming back to the Bible, I'm Christian, so I study the Bible, I read the Word of God. And sometimes it just feels like, and disclaimer, I'm not saying that God is not feminist, and some people have actually argued, there are arguments everywhere. I just think that the times that they were in the Bible were not exactly female-friendly times. And I think that God was actually magnanimous enough to make provisions for both genders to be equally treated. Because even though the Bible says, submit to your husband, and he also says love your wife, and he also says to both genders submit. So I don't know why it now feels as if sometimes in the church or in society we're making women subjugated, or we're making them in background scenes and background roles. It doesn't make a lot of sense, and I don't think that's God's will for us. I know sometimes it can seem as if the Bible is skewed towards the male gender. You have throughout the Bible talks about sons of God, and I think that's because he actually thinks of us as equal before God. Whether or not you're a man or woman, you're a son of God, you're a child of God. But you know, there are some other places where you see that women went through some really horrible situations, like rape, like being deposed from the throne because they refused to come out because they stood for their rights, and so many other cases. You have some really, really hurtful cases of abuse in the Bible, or how they would talk about beauty for women. You know, it's not in adorning, it's in inner character. Why don't you say the same thing for guys? Is it that only women should have beauty and you should not talk about beauty for men? Or when you're saying, oh, beauty should not come from the outward appearance too, so tell the same thing to guys, for goodness sake. But anyways, I think that God is fair to us, but society has made it really difficult to believe that women are equal to men. And I don't think a lot of people in Nigeria, even in my tribe, believe that it's okay to be equal. Coming to the career space, I have experienced gender pay disparity. So they will say things like, oh, but you're a woman, what do you need money for? They say the same thing to single ladies too. You're single, what do you need money for? It doesn't make sense. I do the work, I put in effort as much as this male counterpart. And perhaps I even do much more because I'm emotionally invested in my work, I'm physically invested, I'm mentally invested. So why won't you reward me? Why do we still have to talk about gender pay? Looking at politics in Nigeria too, kudos to all the amazing men and women doing fantastically to make sure that we have more female-friendly policies, and that we pass on some bills that are making sure that women and men have good rights for both of them. But we still have a long way to go. Even politically, we don't have as much representation. I'm happy that is getting better, but it's still so much a long way to go. And you find some really, I think the most painful thing for me is that culturally we have some really annoying conversations around feminism and the place of women. So some people would believe with their own mind and soul and spirit that men still have to take the higher positions, men cannot respond or cannot submit to women in the workplace. And you're like, I don't understand. Where is all this coming from? You know, I've had some conversations around a man saying, oh, but you're a woman, you can't be my boss. Like, for real. If she knows the work, if she's skilled, and if she's in the position, if she has the expertise, why won't you say that to a man? A man can't be my boss. Why does it have to be the woman you're saying that you can't be my boss to? And it's really painful because for me, growing up, I actually started a group called War Against Men, and that was because my brothers used to really annoy me. And I mean, they're really fantastic people, but they said some things that made me feel like, you know what, guys need to go. And I mean, I was just joking anyway, but I still sometimes feel like we haven't gotten it right, both as men and women, when it comes to feminism. There are some things that I was sometimes even upset at women for agreeing to some certain things. Why would you say that a man has to give you money before you're successful, or you have to, play to their tunes? You can be anything you want to be. You don't have to depend on a man for everything. We don't have to say that men make us. We didn't come into the world with anybody. You came in as yourself. God gave you a voice. God gave you a right. God gave you everything that you need to be successful. Yes, we need each other, but your existence is not determined by a man or by a woman. But yes, we do really need some more friendly policies. I happen to have 2 children. I know how difficult it was to balance the home front and working and even schooling at the same time. It was hectic. It was really hectic. It was. And I believe that some countries, like, I mean, a lot of people that want to jackpot to Canada, they're probably going because in Canada, for the most part, if you've been there for a while, you're entitled to about 12 months of maternity paid leave. And that's such a good thing, because it means that I can take care of my child and focus and just be fine. We haven't even come to the conversation around mental health. I know that men and women have equal mental health issues, but I mean, have you heard of baby blues? Have you heard of, and I'm not saying this because I'm a woman, it might sound like that, but I'm just saying that feminism is not even saying that men should not be treated fairly. It's saying that each gender or every gender should have equal rights and should have policies that account for or that take into consideration our biological factors, our social factors, our political factors, and our economic factors. In some cultures, I've had this conversation with a lot of people, in some cultures in Nigeria, we still have that some women cannot inherit properties. They can't inherit whatever their parents leave for them because they are married to a man. I even had a situation where I have a close person that was getting married to another close person, and she said she wanted to retain her father's name, and some people were, wagging their tongues, and I was so happy to tell them off, to say, what is your own? Like, really, it's her choice, it's her belief. Like, there's really nothing that says that she's not going to be a good wife because she doesn't want to pick her husband's last name. I mean, and then there's so many other cases like this. So I think we just need to do better. We need to have these conversations and know that feminism doesn't say that men are not important or that women are more important. It's just basically saying, can you consider that women too should have good rights and they should thrive despite of what they go through, despite of all the situations that we have. Women should thrive. And we've seen some really fantastic leaders as women, as men. It just goes to show that the strength of your character and the strength of who you are, it's not based on your gender, it's based on your character, it's based on what you train yourself to believe and what you think you can do, and on your network as well. So this call is just let us know that feminism is not exactly a bad thing. In fact, we should all be feminists because that's the only way that we can achieve sustainable development, and that's the only way that women will not feel caged and men would also feel like they are supporting their spouses or they're supporting their partners. So yeah, and I'm an advocate also for children, learning early on that it's not one person's place to be domestic, it's not one person's place to do chores, and I think that our generation, we're going to be a lot better than the ones before us, but I'm also a little bit concerned that we're still not getting the whole point of why it's important for one person to know how to do chores. It's a basic life skill. You need to learn these things not just for your partner but also for yourself. Some people will never get married, and that's okay, right? Some people would be focused on, and you also have, so for instance, when someone says they are getting married because they want someone that will be cooking and cleaning for them, that is like a totally wrong reason to get married. Your getting married should be because of companionship, because you want to achieve greater things together, because you want to do life with this person, not because you need someone to cook and clean for that. There are so many dry cleaners out there. There are cooks. You can even cook and clean yourself if it's just you're catering for. But when we begin to make roles, and that's also something that I have struggled with. And the Bible says that Eve was a helpmeet to Adam. For a very long time, I will be honest, I was struggling that, does this helpmeet mean that she was in the home front cleaning and cooking? Is that what helpmeet really means? But I think I've heard a lot of conversations, and I've had some people talk about when they say helpmeet even comes more from an intellectual perspective. You're helping another person birth their vision. You're helping another person to be who exactly God has called them to be. Not exactly, yes, you might mean that you are helping them in the home front, you're cooking for them, you're cleaning for them, you're catering to their physical needs, their spiritual needs, their biological needs. But why doesn't the Bible say that man too can help the woman? Like, does the Bible say that? So that's why sometimes I struggle, and I'm like, God, are you really being fair? But I think that again, God was, he made provision for both roles to just thrive. He knew that, this gender is physically maybe not as strong as this other gender, so he gave us emotional strength. I'm not saying that men are weak, but sometimes you also hear men say things like, oh, we can't cry, we have to be stronger. I think that both genders actually have, we all have basic human needs. We have our emotional lives, we have our physical lives, we have biology, we have spirit, we have intellectual needs, we have material needs. So all of this needs, we just need to understand ourselves basically. But again, I'm calling us not to think about feminism in a bad light. Feminism, I just don't know why there's no another word for it, but it's not, maybe it should be called masculinity perhaps, but it's not saying that women should be better than men. It's not saying that men should domineer over anyone. Feminism doesn't say that one gender should dominate. It's just saying that there should be equality, and I think that was just the best word that they found for it. And I found out that feminism is not a recent theory. It dates back to a lot of years, even in the Bible times, right? God was so magnanimous enough to make some provisions for some women that were even in the most dire situations. Look at the story of Tamar and Rahab and these other ladies that life was already against them, so to say, but God still made sure that their names were still relevant and they still had a good portion of everything that was due to them. So basically, guys, feminism is not a bad thing. Daddy, mommy, children, aunties, we should all learn to be independent in terms of stand for ourselves, but also support the neighbor. I think when we look at it from this point of view, I'm not the only one that should be successful. My neighbor should be successful. I should do everything within my power to make sure that I don't just thrive, but everyone around me thrives. I think if we have this mindset, it won't be so hard to think about equality and sustainable development. One of the reasons why we're so far back is because everybody wants something for themselves. People are inherently selfish. I know that, but it doesn't mean that we can't push and fight this natural thing that wants us to be the only ones that shine and actually support other people. That is really what feminism is about. It's making sure that your partner, your spouse, someone you don't know, someone who will be born generations after you, has an equal playing field and they can thrive. They don't have things pit against them. They have equal recognition. They have equal opportunities. And where they don't even have equal opportunities, they are given a higher stepping stone. I think that's even what equity means. Sometimes people are not in the same place, and people that are disadvantaged, you give them much more opportunities to thrive. That's really what the world needs. That's the only way we can achieve development, and we can make sure that we're all our best selves. So thank you for watching this video, and let me know if anything here has connected with you or resonated with you, and I will see you in my next video. Toodles!